foreign policy front, I've never got to ask you this question. You went to the Soviet Union in your 40s. What did you learn from that experience, that trip?
I went to the Soviet Union. I know that the internet thinks I went there to celebrate my honeymoon. We went with, my wife would respectfully disagree. We ended up going with about 10 other people from Burlington, Vermont. Not quite a romantic honeymoon. And the purpose of that trip was to establish a sister city relationship with a city called Yaroslavl, very old city in Russia. And I believe, and it actually, that trip started the sister city program, which to the best of my knowledge continues to exist today, has been a great program, bringing citizens from Yaroslavl to Burlington and back and forth. What I learned is that you had an economy back then that was in a lot of trouble. I remember in the middle of the night going down there and talking to people, kind of looking around them, worried that somebody was overhearing them, that you lived in an authoritarian society. But on the issue, by the way, you know, what Trump does, getting back to your very first question, Trump thrives on fear. And fear very often is based on just not knowing people who are a little bit different than we are. And I think one of the antidotes to fear, internationally at least, is to develop these cultural exchange programs. I would love to see American kids going out to countries all over the world, and I'd like to see young people from other countries coming into the United States. I think the way we beat fear and xenophobia is by understanding at the end of the day that people, no matter what the color of their skin is, no matter what their religion is, end up having the same dreams and the same aspirations. And by the way, that's what I learned from that Sister City program. That was then under communism, and you saw the young people who, you know, work really well with the young people from Burlington.
Let's stick with that race point you just brought up. In 1974, you said that busing policies were well-meaning in theory, but sometimes result in, quote, racial hostility.
What else did I say in that?
Tell me.
No, you got it there. Read it. Read the whole quote.
I don't have the whole quote.
The whole quote is, the federal government doesn't give a shit about African Americans.
Oh, that is true. That's why I didn't include it.
All right, okay. And my point was that I don't think anybody thinks that busing is the solution. What is the solution, what I meant by that quote, is that we need to enforce fair housing legislation. I think everybody, whether you're black or you're white, you want your kids to go to a great community school, not to be bused an hour away. That is the goal that we should be striving for. And by the way, we've introduced education, what we call the Thurgood Marshall educational plan, which would significantly improve public education in America and deal with a very serious issue of the growing segregation of schools in American society, something that we have to address very boldly.
Was Senator Harris's critique of Vice President Biden fair?
I don't want to, you know, Senator Harris will tell you what she wants, and I'm not here to talk about Joe Biden or Senator Harris within that context. All that I know is that we have massive amounts of racial disparity in this country today. And that means that in a country which has enormous income and wealth inequality, we're looking at a nation where the average white family owns 10 times more wealth than the average black family, where infant mortality rates in the black community 2.5 times higher than the white community. Unbelievable. If you're a black woman having a baby today, the likelihood is 3 times greater that you will die than if you're a white woman, where we still have redlining in terms of our financial system, housing segregation. So when I talk about creating an America that works for all people, it means doing away with the systemic racism that exists from coast to coast.